Welcome to another episode of Extreme Expat Stories of Thailand. The first time someone died on my table, I didn't feel guilt. I felt relief. That's when I knew I shouldn't be a doctor anymore. But by then, it was too late. I'd already booked a one-way ticket to Thailand. This is not going to be one of your regular kind of stories on your channel. Not the lost my wallet in Bangkok kind. Not the married a bar girl and got scammed kind. If you wanted a story people whisper about after last call, when the neon's dying and the heroes are gone, well, congratulations, you found one. My name doesn't matter. Let's call me Dr. Mark. I used to cut people open for a living, in hospitals with marble floors and $1 million machines. They used to call me a miracle worker, the kind of surgeon who got pulled out of bed at 2 a.m. to save someone's life. Now, I wake up in Pattaya, surrounded by empty bottles and bad decisions, wondering how many people I've killed trying to save my own soul. This isn't a redemption story, it's a post-mortem. I came to Thailand to start over, to escape the lawsuits, the board reviews, the whispers about alcohol dependency and ethical lapses. I told myself I was doing humanitarian work, bringing Western medicine to people who needed it. But the truth? I came because this was one of the last places on earth where nobody cared who you used to be, as long as you had cash. And I had just enough left to build a lie. The neon here doesn't just light up the city, it burns through you. Everything feels electric, fake, alive in the worst possible way. You can buy anything in Pattaya if you know where to look. Forgiveness, loyalty, even silence. Especially silence. So I opened a clinic. That's what the sign said, anyway. Pattaya Wellness Center. Western medicine. Thai prices. Inside was a different story. Off-brand Botox, knockoff implants, expired antibiotics, and a man who'd forgotten how to feel shame. At first, I believed my own press. I told myself I was helping people, that I was giving them what they couldn't afford elsewhere. A better face, a better body, a better chance at being loved. But that's the thing about lies. If you say them long enough, they stop sounding like lies. The city loved me for it. The money flowed. The girls smiled. The expats nodded with respect. Good to see a proper doctor around here, they'd say, not knowing or not caring that I'd lost my license 2 continents ago. For a while, it felt like freedom. The kind that smells like ocean rot and cheap whiskey. The kind that makes you forget that real freedom always comes with a cost. And mine was coming due. You want the real story of what happens when Western morality meets Thai chaos? You want to know what happens when a man stops being a healer and starts being a god in his own mind? Fine. But don't say I didn't warn you. The trouble started in Dallas. Or was it Denver? Doesn't matter. American cities all blur together when you're looking at them through the bottom of a scotch glass in your car at 3 a.m. I had everything. Corner office at a private hospital, 7-figure salary, a wife who looked good in photographs, 2 kids whose names I could usually remember. The house had 5 bedrooms and a pool we never used because I was always at work. And she was always at yoga. And the kids were always at activities designed to justify the tuition we paid for their private school. Perfect, sterile, dead. The affair was inevitable. She was a pharmaceutical rep, 26, legs that went on forever. She'd come by my office to pitch new pain medications, and we both knew the real pitch was something else entirely. I told myself it wasn't my fault. I told myself my wife had stopped looking at me years ago. I told myself a lot of things. The divorce was expensive, vicious. She got the house, the kids, the dog, and most of my assets. I got supervised visitation and a reputation. Then came the malpractice suit, a routine procedure, herniated disc, 42-year-old accountant who played weekend golf, straightforward lumbar microdiscectomy, the kind I'd done 200 times. But my hands were shaking that morning. I'd been drinking the night before, more than usual, and somewhere between the incision and the closure, I nicked something I shouldn't have. He woke up with nerve damage, couldn't feel his left leg, couldn't work, couldn't walk his daughter down the aisle at her wedding 6 months later. His lawyers were very good at making that last detail sound tragic in court. I settled, had to liquidate everything. The hospital quietly suggested I take extended leave while they reviewed my privileges. Medical board launched an investigation. My malpractice insurance premiums quadrupled. Suddenly, nobody was returning my calls. I was 48 years old, professionally destroyed, personally bankrupt, and drinking a bottle of Johnny Walker every 2 days just to sleep. Thailand wasn't a choice. It was the only option left. I'd heard stories. Everyone has. Cheap living, beautiful women, no extradition for civil suits, a place where you could disappear and reinvent yourself if you had the balls to actually do it. I sold what little I had left, bought a one-way ticket, and told the 3 people who still spoke to me that I was doing humanitarian work in Southeast Asia. My ex-wife's lawyer sent me a final nastygram about child support. I deleted it somewhere over the Pacific. When I landed in Bangkok, the heat hit me like a physical thing. Thick, wet, the kind of humidity that makes your clothes stick to your skin before you even left the airport. I took a bus to Pattaya that same day. The city welcomed me with open arms, or more accurately, it didn't care one way or another, which was even better. I rented a condo in Pratamnak Hill. Good view, affordable, 20 floors up, which meant you couldn't hear the street noise, but you could still see the whole city spread out below like a circuit board. From up there, Pattaya looked clean, organized. You couldn't see the trash in the soils or smell the sewage backing up in the rainy season. Distance makes everything prettier. I spent the first month just existing, eating street food, learning basic Thai, drinking at bars where nobody asked questions. I told people I was a doctor. Technically true. I said I was consulting. Also technically true, depending on your definition. The idea for the clinic came during a conversation with an Australian expat named Ray. We were at a bar near Soi 6. He was drunk and complaining about getting dental work done in Bangkok. Expensive, long drive, too much hassle. What this city needs, he slurred, is a proper Western clinic. Someone who speaks English, someone who understands customer service. And just like that, the plan formed. I had medical knowledge. I had credentials from the States, even if they weren't technically valid anymore. And Pattaya was full of tourists and expats who wanted Western quality medical care without Western prices. More importantly, it was full of desperate people. Girls working in the bars who wanted bigger breasts or straighter noses to make more money. Older men who wanted hair plugs and Botox to look younger. Trans women who needed everything from hormone consultations to feminization procedures. Desperate people don't ask too many questions. Desperate people paying cash. I found a space in central Pattaya. Small, 2 treatment rooms, a reception area with fake plants and IKEA furniture. I hired a Thai receptionist named Nook who spoke decent English and didn't care that I couldn't show her any local licensing. I ordered equipment from suppliers in China. No questions asked as long as the payment went through. The sign outside said, Pattaya Wellness Center, Western Medicine, Thai prices. Inside, it said something else entirely. I told myself I was helping people, providing a service, meeting a need. All the words that let you sleep at night when you know, deep down, in that part of your brain that still remembers ethics classes and the Hippocratic Oath. that what you're doing is wrong. But wrong is a flexible concept in Pattaya. Everything is negotiable. Everything has a price. I opened on a Tuesday. By Friday, I had my first patient. Her name was Som. She wanted lip fillers. I charged her 3 times what it cost me and told her she looked beautiful. She did, for a while. The clinic grew faster than I'd expected. Word of mouth is powerful in expat communities, especially when you're offering something people are ashamed to want elsewhere. Within 3 months, I was seeing 30 patients a week. Botox, fillers, laser hair removal, minor cosmetic surgeries. I brought in a nurse, a girl named Ploy, who'd done a 2-month medical assistant course and was happy to earn 15,000 baht a month. She didn't ask about my qualifications. I didn't ask about hers. We had an understanding. The money was decent, better than decent. A facelift would cost $10,000 in the States. I charged $2,000 and still made 300% profit on materials. Thai staff were cheap. Rent was cheap. Equipment from China was cheap. The only expensive thing was the alcohol I needed to keep my hands steady. I developed a routine. Wake up at noon, protein shake and 3 ibuprofen. Check emails. Head to the clinic by 2 p.m. See patients until 8 p.m. Dinner at a restaurant in Soi Bukaw where they knew my order. Drinks at Insomnia or Lucifer's until 2 a.m. Back to the condo. Pass out. Repeat. The women were easy. I don't mean that in the way you think, or maybe I do. The line gets blurry after a while. She'd come in for a consultation, 19, 22, 25, hard to tell sometimes. She'd want something fixed, something that would help her make more money, get more customers, attract a Farang husband. I'd sit close, touch her face professionally at first, explain what I could do, how much it would cost. Then I'd mention that cost could be flexible for the right person. You understand what I'm saying? Most said no. Some didn't. The ones who didn't became regulars. Patients who turned into companions, who turned into liabilities I didn't fully recognize until it was too late. Ploy was first. She stayed late one night to help me inventory supplies. We split a bottle of wine, then 2. She told me about her family in Isan, her daughter being raised by her mother, her dreams of opening a nail salon someday. I told her she was beautiful. I told her I could help her. I meant it at the time. We were together for 4 months. She moved into my condo. I paid for her daughter's school fees. She stopped charging me for overtime hours at the clinic. It felt almost like a relationship, almost like something real, until I met Yui. Yui came in for breast implants. She worked at a go-go bar in Walking Street. 23 years old with a smile that could sell anything and eyes that had already seen too much. She wanted to go from an A cup to a C cup. She'd saved 40,000 baht over 6 months. I charged her 35,000 and called it a discount because she reminded me of someone. Who? I don't know. Maybe nobody. Maybe I just liked the way she looked at me with something like hope. The surgery was routine. Small incisions under the breasts. Saline implants, cheaper than silicone and easier to source. I'd done it a dozen times by then, in and out in 2 hours. Ploy assisted. Yui went home the same day with pain medications and instructions to come back for a follow-up in a week. She came back in 3 days. The incisions were infected. I'd used non-sterile equipment, not intentionally, not maliciously, just carelessly. The autoclave had been acting up, and I'd kept meaning to get it fixed, and I'd been drinking more than usual, and it just seemed easier to assume everything was fine. It wasn't fine. Yui's chest was inflamed, red, hot to the touch. The infections were spreading. She needed real antibiotics from a real hospital. She needed to have the implants removed and the infections cleaned before they went septic. I gave her some expired amoxicillin from my supply closet and told her to ice it. She believed me. Why wouldn't she? I was a doctor, Western, professional. I had certificates on the wall, even if they were printed from PDFs I'd downloaded from free template websites. I never saw her again after that appointment. I told myself she'd probably gone to another clinic, gotten proper treatment, was fine, moved to Bangkok or Phuket or back to her village. People disappear in Pattaya all the time. It doesn't mean anything. Chloe knew, though. I could see it in her face. The way she looked at me changed after Yui stopped coming back. Less trust, more calculation. She started asking about money more, started showing up late, started mentioning that maybe she could work somewhere else. I paid her double salary for 3 months, kept her quiet, kept her working. You can buy silence cheaper in Thailand than you can in America. The clinic kept growing. I added hormone therapy to my services menu after a trans woman named Fawn asked if I could help her. I had no formal training in endocrinology, but I could Google, and I could order medications from online pharmacies that didn't ask questions. And I could charge 3,000 baht per month for consultations that consisted of me checking her blood pressure and adjusting dosages based on a forum post I'd read. She trusted me completely. They all did. I was Dr. Mark. I was Western. I was professional. I was helping them achieve their dreams. I was also killing them, slowly, one careless procedure at a time. But I didn't think about that part. Thinking was for people who weren't living in paradise. I was too busy enjoying the freedom, the money, the power of having desperate people look at you like you're their salvation. I bought a motorcycle, a big one, German engineering. I'd ride down Beach Road at midnight with the wind in my face and the neon blurring past, feeling like I'd finally become the person I was supposed to be all along. Free, powerful, untouchable. The cracks started small. A patient complaining about scarring, another mentioning side effects from medications I'd prescribed. Ploy making pointed comments about safety standards and proper licensing. The Australian expat, Ray, asking if I'd heard about some girl who'd ended up in Bangkok hospital with a serious infection after getting some work done somewhere in Pattaya. I brushed it all off at first. Coincidences, bad luck, other clinics, not me, never me. I told myself I was too good to fail. But day by day, each complaint, each warning, each pointed glance built a weight I couldn't ignore. God, I was stupid. I should have seen it coming. For a while, it almost felt like I'd beaten the system. Money flowed. Patients lined up. I was the Farang doctor everyone whispered about. The one who could make you beautiful overnight. I'd walk through Walking Street like I owned it. The girls calling out, "Dr. Mark," between shots of cheap tequila. Their laughter chasing me down the soil like a blessing and a curse. At night, I'd stand on my balcony, cigarette in one hand, glass in the other, watching the lights flicker across the bay, neon bleeding into the water, boats drifting like ghosts. I'd think, I did it. I escaped. I won. But Pattaya doesn't let anyone win. It just lets you believe you are, right before it cashes out your soul. The calls started coming around then. Men asking about packages, women wanting surgeries I had no business performing, a Russian influencer offering double if I'd do her procedure after hours and skip the paperwork. Each deal felt like a test, and I failed every single one. Because when you start believing you're untouchable in this city, that's when it decides to touch you back. Hard. The city had other plans. The police came on a Thursday. Not for me, not directly. They were doing a routine inspection of businesses in the area. checking licenses, making sure everything was properly registered. The kind of inspection that usually ends with an envelope of cash changing hands and everyone going about their business. I paid them 20,000 baht. They left. But they'd seen inside, seen the equipment, seen the treatment rooms, seen Ploy looking nervous in the corner. 2 days later, a man showed up at a clinic, older, well-dressed, spoke perfect English with a British accent. He introduced himself as an attorney representing certain interest in the area. He knew I wasn't licensed. He knew my credentials were invalid. He knew about Yui. Coincidentally, he said with a smile that never reached his eyes, these problems could all go away for a reasonable monthly fee. I paid him 50,000 baht on the spot. He said he'd be back next month. Welcome to Thailand. Ploy quit the next week. Just stopped showing up. I called her phone, got nothing. Went to her apartment, found it empty. She'd taken everything. Clothes, photos, even the cheap rice cooker I'd bought her. She'd also taken copies of patient files. I didn't realize that until later. I hired a new assistant, Mim, 18, fresh from Buriram, desperate enough not to ask questions, inexperienced enough not to recognize malpractice when she saw it. The drinking got worse. Mornings started with vodka in my coffee. Evenings ended with whiskey in bed. I told myself it was stress. I told myself I was handling it. I told myself that successful men always had vices. My hands shook during procedures. Not a lot, just enough that I had to grip the instruments tighter. Just enough that I left scars where I shouldn't have. The patients still came though. That's the thing about desperation. It doesn't have better options. A Russian woman wanted a nose job. I botched it, gave her 10,000 baht and told her it would settle in a few weeks. It didn't. A Thai man wanted gynecomastia surgery. I removed too much tissue on one side. He left looking lopsided. I blamed swelling. An English teacher wanted liposuction. I perforated something I shouldn't have. She ended up in a real hospital. I told my lawyer to pay her off before she could file anything official. Everything was breaking. Slowly. Inevitable. But I kept telling myself it was fine. I was still making money. Still living in paradise. Still free from the judgment and rules of Western society. This was just the price of freedom. These were just growing pains. Then Fun didn't show up for her appointment. The trans woman. The hormone therapy patient. The one who'd been seeing me for months or almost a year. She was always on time. Always paid in cash. Always thanked me profusely for changing her life. She didn't show up that month. Or the next. I called her number. Disconnected. I asked around. Nobody knew where she'd gone. A month later, someone mentioned hearing about a trans woman who'd died of a blood clot. Young, 20-something, nobody important. Just one of hundreds of stories that fade into the background noise of a city like this. I told myself it wasn't her. I told myself there was no connection. I told myself that even if it was her, hormone therapy carries risks. Everyone knows that. I'd disclosed the risks, hadn't I? I checked my files. I hadn't. I started seeing things that weren't there. Shadows in doorways, faces in crowds that looked familiar. The feeling that someone was following me. Paranoia, probably. The alcohol and the stress and the heat all combining to make me jumpy. Or maybe the city really was watching. Maybe it had been watching all along. Pattaya doesn't judge, but it keeps score, and eventually everyone's tab comes due. The clinic closed 3 weeks ago. Not officially. I just stopped opening. Stopped answering emails. Stopped pretending. Mim quit via text message. The lawyer showed up asking for his payment. I didn't have it. He smiled that same empty smile that told me I had until the end of the month to sort things out. I'd been hiding in my condo since then, door locked, curtains drawn, living on delivery food and whatever alcohol I can get this building security guard to buy for me. I know how this sounds. I know what you were thinking. Pathetic Western failure, drinking himself to death in a Thai apartment. Another cautionary tale, another cliche. But you don't understand. I was trying to help them, all of them. Yui and Fawn and Som and all the others whose names I can't quite remember anymore. I gave them access to procedures they couldn't afford elsewhere. I gave them hope. I gave them transformation. That some of those transformations went wrong. That's just medicine. That's just statistics. Every surgery has risks. Every medication has side effects. The fact that I wasn't properly licensed is irrelevant to the good I did. Isn't it? There was one more. I didn't mention her earlier because I'm not sure she was real. Or maybe she was too real. Late night, I'd been drinking. A girl came to the clinic. Emergency, she said. Her friend needed help. Bleeding. Bad procedure somewhere else. Could I fix it? I should have said no. Should have sent her to a hospital. Should have done 1,000 things differently. I didn't. I brought them in. Tried to repair whatever butcher job someone else had started. Made it worse. Made it so much worse. The bleeding wouldn't stop. The friend, scared, crying, kept asking if she would be okay. I kept lying, kept saying yes, kept pressing gauze against wounds that needed stitches I wasn't sober enough to place correctly. They left eventually. I don't remember how it ended. I don't remember if the bleeding stopped or if they went to a hospital or if they just disappeared like everyone else. I just remember watching them go, watching the blood trail out of my door and thinking, how do I clean this up before someone else sees? Not, is she going to die? Not, what have I done? Just, how do I hide this? That's when I knew. I'm writing this from my condo. It's 4 a.m. The city is finally quiet outside. Even Pattaya sleeps sometimes. My passport is on the table. My laptop is open. I've been looking at flights. Cambodia is cheaper. Vietnam is easier. Myanmar doesn't ask questions. I can start over. New city, new name, new clinic. This time I'll be more careful. This time I'll do it right. I tell myself that every night. But the truth is, I haven't touched a scalpel in weeks. My hands won't stop shaking. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see Yui's face. And I can't remember if she's alive or dead. Don't judge me. You'd have done the same, given the same circumstances, the same pressures, the same opportunities. You'd have made the same choices. Everyone thinks they're better than they are until money and freedom and desperation remove all the safety rails. I came to Thailand looking for reinvention. I found it, just not the kind I expected. The kind where you become exactly who you were always underneath, but without the social constraints that kept it hidden. I was always this person. I just needed Pattaya's neon darkness to finally admit it. So yeah, that's my story. That's your extreme expat confession. I hope it gets you views. I hope it goes viral. I hope someone watches it and thinks, thank God that's not me. But they're lying to themselves if they think they're different. We're all just one bad decision away from being me. I'm leaving Thailand next week. New country, new start. Maybe this time I'll finally get it right. Or maybe I'll just find new people to destroy. Either way, I'll be free. That's what matters, right? Dr. Mark.